Okay, so something happened. I was trying to actually make a video over this, and I've done a bunch of work here, so I'm going to do my best to go back over it. But whenever I was trying to film it, the computer crashed. So here we go. I'm going to start with this example and kind of run through the other ones. So 2x squared plus 5x plus 2 is my quadratic. So a times c is 4, b is 5. So I found the two numbers to be 1 and 4. Y-intercept is 0, 2. That comes from plugging in 0 into this function, or if your quadratic is in standard form, it's your c term. So this c term is 2. If you plug 0 in, you're going to get 2 times 0 plus 5 times 0 plus 2. Okay? So that would be 0 plus 0 plus 2. The next thing you're going to do is factor. So since my numbers are 1 and 4, I'm actually going to split this 5x into 1 and 4. So I've got 2x squared plus 4x plus 1x plus 2. So I'm going to factor 2x out of these two. So I get 2x times x plus 2 plus 1 times x plus 2. So I'm left with x plus 2 times 2x plus 1 equals 0. So I want to factor this out. So then I want to get rid of each one of these or solve for x in each one of these by setting them both equal to 0 and solving the resulting equation. So I take x plus 2, set it equal to 0, and 2x plus 1, set it equal to 0. So I subtract 2 from both sides. So I get x equals negative 2 as one solution. And then over here, if I subtract 1, I get 2x equals negative 1. And so x equals negative 1 over 2. So my two solutions are negative 2, negative 1 over 2. And that's it. That's it for that part. So then I've got three coordinates now. So I've got y-intercept is 0, 2. My x-intercepts are going to be negative 2, 0, and negative 1/2 is 0. So that much I know. Okay. And then then what I want to do is find my axis of symmetry. So AOS, start with x, and you're going to take your two zeros and add them together. So negative 2 plus negative 1/2 all over 2. So you add your two zeros together, your two x values of your zeros, and then divide by 2. So here, I need a common denominator. So I've got negative 2 over 1 plus negative 1 over 2. So the denominator over here is 2, so I need this denominator to be 2. So I'm going to multiply this numerator and denominator by 2. So that gives me negative 4 over 2 plus negative 1 over 2, all divided by 2. So that gives me, and this is over 1 as well. So you can do 2 over 1. So I'm going to get negative 5 over 2 times, instead of 2 over 1, you're going to multiply by 1/2 the reciprocal, because you're dividing by 2 over 1, so you multiply by the reciprocal. So you get negative 5 over 4 is your x-coordinate of your vertex. So vertex, its x-coordinate is negative 5 over 4. To find the other part of the vertex, the y-coordinate, you plug it into any type of quadratic that's equal to your function. So here, this is f of x, this is f of x, this is f of x, this is f of x. As long as it's equal to your original function, you can plug it into any form. So what I like to do is plug it into the factored form once I've factored it. So I'm going to do that. So I've got x plus 2 and 2x plus 1. But I'm trying to find f of negative 5 over 4, which is going to be negative 5 over 4 plus 2 over 1. So I'm just making these into fractions. That way I can see what I need to multiply upstairs and downstairs by. So then I've got 2 over 1 times negative 5 over 4 plus 1 over 1. So right here I've got negative 5 over 4 multiply this one upstairs and downstairs by 4, you get 8 over 4. And then these two you just multiply across, so don't worry about a common denominator. Whenever you're multiplying fractions, you don't have to worry about a common denominator. You just multiply across the top and across the bottom. So I've got negative 10 over 4, and over here I've got plus 4 over 4. So I've got, right, 3 over 4 and negative 6 over 4. So I've got 3 times negative 6 is negative 18 over 16. Okay, so negative 18 over 16, and let's just double check that. Let's just double check that. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my graphing calculator, and hopefully I don't get rid of that screen again. And I'm going to go to, what is it, negative 5 over 4. Let me just check, negative b over 2a is negative 5 over 4. And I'm going to store it. Store it into x, okay? So there, I've stored it into x. So now I'm going to type in 2x squared. It's not working. X squared plus 5x plus 2. And we got negative 18 over 16, so let's just double check and make sure that that's equal. Yes, okay, so we're on the money. Let's make sure this is moving. Okay, that's moving, that's working. So before, whenever I used the calculator, it actually crashed. Okay, so now I can actually draw this graph out. So I've got my 2 zeros, my x-intercepts, and my y-intercept. My 2 zeros, which are our x-intercepts, and then my vertex. So I'm going to start with a vertex this time. You didn't see it other times, but whatever. Okay, so negative 5 over 4, and then negative what? 1.25. So just a little bit over negative 1, and just a little bit over negative 1 in the y direction. So like right there. And then my 2 zeros are negative 2 and negative 1/2. Negative 2 and negative 1/2. Yeah. And then from here, I'm going to use my y-intercept, which is 0, 2. And then if you take a look here on this other side, if I use symmetry, right over here, right, this is what, negative 5 over 4. So if I go 5 over 4 in this direction, just a little over, I'm going to have the same output there. So that gives me a rough shape of my quadratic. And it's a little more approximate. So I'm going to go over some of these. So this is the first example I tried to do. So right off the bat, you can kind of see 0 and negative 9 is a y-intercept. A times C is negative 18, 6 times negative 3, and your B term is 3, okay? So the two numbers that multiply to be negative 18 but add to be 3 are 6 and negative 3. So what you're going to do is split up your x term of your function and start to factor that. So I put in 6x here and negative 3x here. Out of these two, I factored out a negative 3. Out of these two, I factored out a 2x, and I'm left with x plus 3 times 2x minus 3. So I set both equal to 0, and that's a crooked 3. So for this one, if you subtract 3 from both sides of the equation, you get x equals -3. From this one, you add 3 and then divide by 2, and you get x equals 3 over 2. So that gives me 3 over 2, 0 is a 0, and what is it? -3, 0 is a 0. So I approximated this with a decimal. These other numbers are coming from over here. So this is me trying to find the axis of symmetry. So I took -3 over 1 plus 3 over 2, divided it by 2. So I took the average of the two zeros. For this one, -3 over 1, for this 0, I had to multiply upstairs and downstairs by 2 to get a common denominator, and then add across. So -6 plus 3 is -3 over 2. And then this 2 down here, I'm dividing by 2 over 1. Okay? So -3, -6 plus 3 is -3 over 2, divided by 2 over 1. That's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of the denominator. So that gives you -3 over 2 times 1/2. So -3/4 is your axis of symmetry, and it's the x-coordinate of your vertex. So over here, you'll see -3/4, which is -0.75. And if you plug -3/4 back in, you get -81 over 8, which is -10.125. So I'll walk you through that. So once you get -3 over 4, you plug it back in, and you should get -81 over 8 for this problem. So I'm left with -3 over 4 plus 3 over 1, and then times 2 times -3 over 4 minus 3. So over here, I multiplied these two fractions. So this is 2 over 1. So 2 times -3 is -6. 1 times 4 is 4. And then here I've got -3 over 1. So I converted that to a denominator of 4. So that's -3 over 1. If you multiply upstairs and downstairs by 4, you get -12 over 4. And over here, I multiplied this one, this 3 by 4, and this 1 by 4. So you get -3 over 4 plus 12 over 4, which is 9 over 4. And over here, I get -6 minus 12, which is -18 over 4. So from here, I start to multiply, but first I reduce this fraction. So I did -18 divided by 2 and 4 divided by 2, so that gave me -9 over 2. And then I did 9 times -9, and then 4 times 2, which 9 times -9 is -81 over 8, okay? So that gave me -10.25. So I took all these values, all these different values, and I plotted them, okay? So -3/4, -81 over 8 is down here. And then I've got 0, -9. And over here, I know by symmetry that this is going to be like what? -3/4 plus another 3/4 would be 6 over 4. So this is -6 over 4, I think. Let me make sure. Yes, -6 over 4, -9 by symmetry. So that's how I got that point. And then the other two are your zeros. So this is 3 over 2, 0. And then -3, 0. So yeah, that's how you do that one. So hopefully you caught up with that one. So I wanted to do a few examples. And let's do one more. Okay, so you've got A times C. First, you know that the y-intercept is 0, 12, which comes from the C term of your standard quadratic. Then you do A times C, which is 15 times 4. So 15 plus 4 is 19, 15 times 4 is 60. So what you do with those two terms is you split up the x term and you get 5x squared plus 15x plus 4x plus 12. And then out of the first two terms, you're going to factor out 5x. It gives you x plus 3 inside the parentheses. And out of these two terms, you're going to factor out 4, which gives you x plus 3 in that parentheses. So then x plus 3 factors out to the front, and you're left with 5x plus 4 in the other parentheses. So you take each one and set it equal to 0. So I've got x plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3 from both sides, you get x equals -3. So that's 1, 0. And over here, if I subtract 4 from both sides and then divide by 5, that gives me the second 0. So once I have those zeros, I know that them as x values, those numbers as x values, and the y values as 0 are x-intercepts, okay? So then I took those two numbers, negative 3 and negative 4 over 5, and I added them and divided by 2. So I've got negative 3 over 1 plus negative 4 over 5, divided all by 2. So then if I multiply upstairs and downstairs, it's negative 3 over 1 by 5, I get negative 15 over 5 minus 4 over 5. So that gives me, and then a division of 2 over 1, so that gives me negative 19 over 5, so negative 15 minus 4 is negative 19, divided by 5 times 2 over 1, which its reciprocal is going to be 1 over 2. So that gives me negative 19 over 10. Okay, so then I can take it and plug it into this function. So I plugged it into the factored form of f of x that we did. So I got f of negative 19 over 10 is equal to this. And I went ahead and converted them to common denominators. So I've got 3 to 330 over 10, and then 4 to 40 over 10. 5 over 1 is my fraction in front of x. So whenever you multiply fractions, don't forget that you multiply across. So 5 times negative 19 is negative 95. 1 times 10 is 10. I've got negative 19 plus 30 is 11 over 10, and then negative 95 plus 40 is negative 55 over 10. So that gives you negative 605 over 100, which is negative 6.05. So I took all these coordinates and plotted them. So negative 2.16, negative 6.05. Okay, and the other one is 0, 12, that's your y-intercept. Okay, so that's up here. And I kind of drew it off. So 0, 12. Okay, and we've also got what? Negative 4 over 3, 0. No, negative 4 over 5. Negative, that was the mistake I made earlier. Negative 4 over 5, 0. And then here we have negative 3, 0. And then for this top point, it should actually be going in like through there. So that's like, I know it's negative 2.16 times 2, so what, negative 4.32. So just a little over negative 4. So negative 4.32. 12. And that comes from symmetry, right? So 0 is 2.16 to this direction. So then negative 4.32, 2.16 from this direction is going to give me the same output as this y-intercept. So that's by symmetry. So, and that is all the examples I wanted to show you. So that's 18 minutes worth of wonderful goodness, I guess. So you guys take it easy. I hope that helps with your homework.